Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Ethereum and the fact that it is stalled somewhat against USD over the last couple days. But we obviously know why. It's because Bitcoin is king. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. So this is something we talked about in the past, right? When Bitcoin volatility goes up, it will likely cause the rest of the market to pause and wait to see what happens. And we're seeing the same thing happen with Ethereum. Ethereum right now is at 1682, 1683, somewhere in that ballpark. This is still relatively good for Ethereum considering that just a few weeks ago, at say the beginning of January, we were trading for just over $700. But on any given day or week, when Bitcoin volatility goes up, we would expect Ethereum to pause and wait. It doesn't mean it's the end of the road for Ethereum. What it means is that when Bitcoin volatility goes up, the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation will bleed. And that's exactly what we've seen over the last couple of days. The Ethereum Bitcoin valuation has come back down approximately 10% or so. So Ethereum Bitcoin valuation is bleeding because we know the Bitcoin valuation is moving up. Now, what would cause Ethereum to start moving again? Again, two things, right? Two things that we would be looking out for Ethereum. One thing that could drag Ethereum up is if Bitcoin goes into price discovery mode. Right now, you see Bitcoin climbing, it's at 40.6K, and Ethereum hasn't really moved a whole lot, right? It's still sitting around the upper 1600s, so it hasn't really moved a whole lot. I think that one thing that might start to pull the Ethereum valuation up would be if Bitcoin were to break out of 42K and head higher. Okay, so that would be one scenario where we might see the Ethereum valuation start to pick up pace again against USD. But in that scenario, if Bitcoin goes into price discovery mode, then rest assured the Ethereum valuation against Bitcoin would likely bleed. So the thesis that we had, and we have, is that Ethereum will rally against Bitcoin as long as Bitcoin stays well above its 20-week moving average. Check, it's all the way down here. And it doesn't put in a new all-time high. If Bitcoin puts in a new all-time high and goes to like 43K, 44, goes to 50K, then we would expect the Ethereum valuation to bleed against Bitcoin. However, if you're not as concerned about crypto valuations and you just care about crypto USD valuations, then the Ethereum valuation against USD will likely get dragged up. Just how it was, just how it got dragged up, before. You can see in October and November and December, the valuation of Ethereum was being dragged up by Bitcoin. It wasn't until January where, and it's funny because we saw that Ethereum was going up against USD, but look at this. It was bleeding throughout basically all of Q4 against Bitcoin. It did not turn around until January. And so this move here, the main way in which the Ethereum valuation against Bitcoin would continue and continue higher like this would, in the short term, would be that Bitcoin is unable to get past 42K. If Bitcoin is unable to get past 42K, and let's say we either get rejected here, or if we come up and get rejected and come back down, something like that, that would be the way that the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation primarily could rally. Okay, and as I said in the last video, if something like this were to happen and then we keep testing it, then of course every YouTuber known to man is going to start doing something like this, where we'll say it's in this pattern. Okay, however, the alternative is that Bitcoin continues to go up like this. If that happens, then we will likely see the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation come back down some. Okay, and I don't know how far down it would go, but it could be that we look back at this and say, well, it came back up to the top of the channel, yet again. Okay, so this will be the thing to look out for Ethereum is if Bitcoin is rallying past this level and going into price discovery, my guess at that point is that Ether Bitcoin will bleed, Ether USD will go up. A lot of altcoins might not go up against USD, but I think that Ethereum is more likely to be dragged up by Bitcoin than a lot of other coins. And it's why Ethereum is my number 2 position after Bitcoin. So we'll have to keep an eye. We'll have to keep a close eye on what Bitcoin wants to do here, because in the event that the volatility of Bitcoin calms back down, over let's say we fast forward like a week or two, and Bitcoin, in this hypothetical world, if Bitcoin is still less than 42K, but still well above the 20-week moving average, let's say it's like 37K, 38K, or something like that, then I think we'll be looking at this chart, and it will continue to look pretty good, and then it'll likely trend higher. Not financial advice, of course, but that will likely trend higher. What I would also be looking out for is if Bitcoin does get rejected at, say, 41K or 42K and comes back down, then we would expect Ethereum USD to also come back down in the short term. But as long as Bitcoin continues to hold, we've seen how quickly Ethereum can turn things around. Ethereum is very resilient in these market conditions, and the reason it's resilient again is because Bitcoin is well above its 20-week moving average, right? I mean, that's the reason why Ethereum is so resilient right now. If Bitcoin were not way up here, then Ethereum would not bounce back quite as easily as it has been doing. Because despite the fact that we've seen many valuation retracements of Ether USD, it continues to trend higher. If you look at every, say, week or two period, it more or less continues to trend higher, with the exception of a couple weeks here and there. Okay. Now, again, if you just simply look at Ether USD, it still looks fairly similar to when Bitcoin approached its prior all-time high. These 5 candles that you see here, you can also see the same 5 for Bitcoin when Bitcoin was approaching its prior all-time high, right around that level. So we had a green, and then this red one, a green that took us to the top, another red, and then we broke through. Ether's doing the same thing, right? The green, and then this red, the green took us to the top, a red, and then we broke through. So what we're looking for, essentially, is and again, Bitcoin staying bullish is ultimately good for Ethereum, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with a 40.8K Bitcoin, right? Even if it were to go to 42K, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that in terms of Ether USD. It's just, again, that if you're looking for the Ether Bitcoin valuation to go up, it's certainly going to be harder for it to go up if Bitcoin valuation is putting in new highs. So the next move, so we'll be putting in a weekly close of Ethereum tomorrow. Okay, what did Bitcoin do after this green candle that pushed past it? Well, after that green candle, then the following week, Bitcoin USD put in another 11%, followed by another 25 or 26%. So 11 and then 26. Now, Ethereum tends to be a slightly more volatile version of Bitcoin. But if we were to assume that it did exactly what Bitcoin did, 11 and then 26, let's suppose that happens. And let's say Ethereum closes at around 1700, and we start the week off and it does 11%. So let's say next week Ethereum goes up 11%, following in kind to what Bitcoin did. Then it would put it closer to a $1,900 Ethereum. Now, one way that we could imagine us getting to $1,900 Ethereum, not only if Ethereum or if Bitcoin gets rejected and does not put in a new all-time high, the other way that it could go to 1,900 would be if Bitcoin does go to 43K, 44K, and Ethereum just keeps getting dragged up by Bitcoin. If that happens, then it's not going to be an Ether Bitcoin move. It'll be an Ether USD move that's just getting dragged up by Bitcoin. 11% or so if Bitcoin is going up. If Bitcoin will be putting in crazy numbers, if it gets above 42K likely and we'll go into price discovery mode, it's likely Ethereum can get dragged up 11, 12% in a week. But then let's suppose that Bitcoin cools off a couple weeks later, and then the next move by Bitcoin was 26%. So if Ethereum goes up 26% the following week from that level, then we'd be looking closer to a $2,400 Ethereum. And that move would likely come on the back of diminished Bitcoin volatility. Okay, if we were to see like a 30% move by Ethereum in 1 week, I would expect it to likely come on diminished Bitcoin volatility. And then from there, we know the final one that took Bitcoin, and we'll take it all the way up to the top of the wick from the closing candle, another 26% or 27% from this level. So if it were to do that, say the last week of February, 27%, where does that get us? It gets us to a $3,000 Ether. So I feel like, that is a plausible path to a $3,000 Ether, even in the scenario that Bitcoin volatility might stay high, might stay fairly elevated in the short term. If you guys like the content, make sure you check out the premium list. We are having a sale. We'll still have it go on for a little bit longer. Check it out, weekly reports, weekly videos, the risk dashboard, the alerts channel on Telegram, and more. We have the sale. Check it out in the description below. Make sure you subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up. Let me know where you think Ethereum is headed in the comments. And I'm always curious just to see what people think, where it's headed. And thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Bye.